is Real Talk HD with Brian Herzog.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for coming back to us, Real Talk HD. I'm Brian Herzog. In studio, I've got an old friend of mine that is amazing to see him come in studio. Mr. Chris T. White, let me shake your hand.
How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing good.
Good, man. Good
How have
to
you
see
been?
Been good. Been good. I see you've been doing well.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm trying to be just like you. You know, you're on the show today because you've actually benefited positively from some of these services. These, Global Tax Centers is actually, you are a product of someone that's been led to the water.
Right. Absolutely.
Let's talk about that. What happened?
Prepared my tax return. I'd always used one of the major preparers for years.
Right.
But I actually connected with Nate, and he actually did my tax return for this past tax year and did an excellent job. All the same services that I'm accustomed to receiving from a tax preparer, got those exact same services from Global. So I was very pleased.
Right. So what happened? Were you displaced or?
No, actually, fortunately, I wasn't. I was one of the blessed few, my family and I, that our home did not get water. Right. However, as you can imagine, many of our neighbors and coworkers and friends did, including Nate himself. Mm-hmm. So when Nate told me about what he planned to do for the community to give back, I felt like I just had to come down and lend my support. Well, I was positively impacted by, Nate's passion and his commitment to deliver this service to the community because so many of my coworkers were displaced. They were in shelters and trying to find places to live, and they lost everything. And so I saw what they were struggling with. And so when Nate told me about his initiative and I read the press release, I just felt like I had to be here to lend my support.
Right. So basically, you come on unofficially, but just kind of help out.
Right, exactly.
Right, because I'm telling you, I've seen so many people that came to the Celtic Studios dropping off water, clothing. You'd be surprised how loving people are in Louisiana.
Absolutely.
So this is nothing new. We've seen tons of people just stepping up to the plate. So you were like truly inspired.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what is it that you feel that in terms of the energy of what they've been doing in terms of helping folks out that's different from other people in the industry?
Well, I think it's a prime example of compassion, truly having compassion for people that are trying to recover and trying to rebuild from this disaster.
Right.
And as Nate said, there are some resources out there, but in many cases it's not enough.
Right.
And so this is a way that they can reach out to another resource that may help them fill the gap. Right. Because many people want to stay in their homes. They don't want to have to leave, and they don't want to have to, as Nate said, be forced into foreclosure. They want to be able to rebuild and stay in their homes. And if this is a way that they can get a little more resource to fill the gap to help them do that, I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that the fact that we can put information out, period, that can be of service to folks is what they need. What I really like about what you said is the genuine compassion. I mean, that's priceless. When people really, you can really tell when somebody really cares.
Absolutely.
I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. You don't have to be a globe reader or a crystal ball reader. Normal people can tell when something's genuine. And generally, when you see that nice, that loving, that giving, that selfless attitude, it gets contagious.
Absolutely, it does. Well, a prime example of what you talked about with the Celtic Center. Right? People who had no connection to the survivors in many cases that were in the shelter were spending their own money and their time and their resources and bringing food and dry clothes and things for babies and all this other stuff. Right? To the point where they had to say, hey, wait a minute, we can't take it anymore. Right. If you remember on the news.
That's right.
So that's the spirit of Louisiana and Louisianians, and prime example is what Nate is doing.
That's right.
I think it's awesome.
Chris T. White, thank you for coming on to the show. I'm so glad that you've given us your take on what's been going on with the flood. And it might not be on the TV all the time like it was, but the people here, they know it's still present. It's a long ways from being gone.
Absolutely.
So thanks for coming on and talking about this. Just after the break, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have Nate's going to come back, and we're going to talk a little bit more just before we leave. Do know that at the Celtic Studios, you have access to FEMA right there. The FEMA offices are right there, in addition to the disaster relief. Stay tuned. We're going to be talking more about how global tax centers are really making an impact to the folks here in Louisiana just after the break.